What's a feeling that you experienced as a kid, teen you can't experience again as an adult? Those summer break feels. The happiness when the last day of school ended. God, I remember aching and yearning for that last day upwards of 10 weeks before the last day. With every passing day, time moved slower. The air was hotter. Summer was coming. I think the second coming of Jesus feels the same way as leaving school on that last day. It's hard to put into words. The feeling of pretending to sleep in the car just so your parents can carry you inside your bed. That Christmas feeling. Everything just seemed so magical. Now it's just blah. You kind of get some of that back when you have kids. Their joy and excitement becomes your joy and excitement. Having zero responsibilities. When I was 15 or 16, I started working over the summers, and pretty quickly I realized that my last totally responsibility-free summer was already gone. That was one hell of a growing-up moment of being lifted by your parents with ease. Sad thought there was one day where your mom put you down and never picked you up again. Dude, my mom put me down all the time. Still would, but she's dead, so that's kinda pick me up. Young love. Love is still great when you're older. But there's nothing like one last kiss before you rush home to almost beat curfew. That first love. You know, when everything is new and nothing else matters. The rush is when you both are inexperienced. Sitting and talking about the future like you got half a clue. The heat of their breath. The sound of their laugh. Those moments of pure happiness with someone your whole being wants to be with forever. That devastating heartbreak. The feeling that I have all the time in the world. It's amazing remembering back to summers as a kid, how much you could get into a single day. And then the bliss of just knowing you could do it all again the next day. And the next day. And for weeks on end. Now if you choose to have a day like that, you can't go half an hour without a little voice in your head reminding you of the gigantic list of adult responsibilities you're gonna have the next day if you don't do anything today. Being able to do so many physical things without feeling sore or achy the next day. When I was in my early teen years, I could run for miles, do 50 pull-ups, 100 sit-ups, and not even get tired. My arms were covered in veins. Strength was so natural. At 18 in Army basic training, it got a bit harder. By age 22, I somehow lost my ability to run like that and struggled to go a mile. Everything became harder. There is no going back to that. Smoking probably had a lot to do with it. Don't smoke, kids. Yeah, that's probably the smoking. Fitness shouldn't drop off like that so young. I was thinking the same thing. At 22, you haven't even hit your prime yet. Greater than don't smoke, kids. Commas man. Playing deep story-driven games for the first time with awe and wonder. Playing each new Final Fantasy as they came out was pure magic. Playing the new ones today is just doing it to say I've done it. I don't have the magic I had as a child to attach to and grow with the characters I'm playing. The first time I played Pokémon, my first real video game, and realizing just how much you could do and where you could go was magical. Obviously, in retrospect, it's really not that big or complicated of a game. But that's still one of my favorite video game moments of all time. Jumping down from a higher place without your knees going IAKSJDIHSKBWSJ. How long an hour last? When I was a kid, having hour to watch TV or play video games seemed like a eternity. Now if I have just an hour to watch TV or play games, I really question if it is worth it. As a kid, I would be sitting there doing useless shit, worrying about when I get to real life if I'll be okay. I never did anything towards making sure I was okay though. And all those hours that I was wasting felt horrible. And when I got into high school, I was like, fuck, only 4 years till real life, I'm so screwed. Being truly happy, or at least having hope for the future. When you're being pushed on a swing and you get really, really high up and there's that feeling like you're flying on top of the world. I was expecting cool stories, but this comment section is just depressing. I feel like I was never a teen because I haven't experienced 99% of these things yet. The overwhelming rage of being horny all the time, like all the time. God, I'm so glad that's past. I beat off in the oddest places from 11 to 13 and have so many cringe-filled memories, including girls. The period like 12 to 17 where I'd thought about literally every girl I knew in a sexual way was a weird one. Glad that's over. The magic of a snow day. I remember listening to the news hoping to hear my school mentioned, and when it was just so exciting. Getting back into my pajamas to watch cartoons and later going out to play in the snow with my dog. I'm not even sure if that's something kids these days get to experience, since now it's possible to do things online and get assignments sent to them electronically. Not having grief or guilt. You have guilt as a teen. Not me. Guilt was non-existent as a teen because I don't care about anyone I don't know, and I was so introverted I didn't know anyone. Opposite for me. Grew up in a religious house. Felt guilt over everything. Sometimes would feel guilty and didn't even know why. Beliefs changed in my mid-20s and am now an atheist. Don't feel any guilt unless I've done something that hurts or affects someone negatively. Having a sleepover with your best friend. Like, yeah, I can do it now, but it's just not the same. I feel like the spirit of the quote from the end of Stand By Me rings true when talking about childhood friends. Greater than, I never had any friends later on like the ones when I was 12. Jesus. Does anyone? Quote. There were friendships I formed as a young teen that were absolutely unique in character. A few of them are still among my closest friends today, even if we don't talk that much. On a similar note, I think there's something to be said about the unique relationship you have with someone that you used to be really close with. And even if you're not that tight anymore, there's a mutual understanding and respect like no other. And thank God that quote is true. I didn't have friends when I was 12. I had bullies who'd tolerate my friendship-starved presence as long as they could make fun of me. I've come to realize the shit they did to me still subconsciously bothers me deep down to this day. For example, when my college friends got pissed at me for sending them a snap of me about to do something arguably dangerous and then not checking my phone for hours. I was genuinely surprised that they'd worry about my well-being, because the idea of having friends who actually cared about me was one I was still trying to adjust to. This may sound dumb, but I kind of miss doing slightly illegal stuff. Getting a rush of breaking the law. But the consequences wouldn't be that bad because you're still a minor. Stuff like sneaking through abandoned buildings or finding a way into the school in the middle of the night. Doing little drug sales for a $5 bag of weed and feeling like Walter White. Being at a house party and running from the cops when they showed up. My early 20s I still would do some dumb stuff, but as time has gone on into my late 20s I'm very much by the book. I've never had legal trouble and I don't really want to get arrested for something dumb as a fully grown man. A few years ago I had to turn down a first date who was all over me in a movie theater. Like she really wanted to hook up for real. I couldn't believe it. If we were 15 I'm sure they'd kick you out. Call your parents. Or maybe just say get lost you crazy kids. At 25 they call the cops and you get a really awkward job interview topic for the rest of your life. Driving 150 kilometers per hour at 2 a.m. with your boys just to see what it feels like. That fascination with every little thing in life. Everything is new and amazing. Honestly, something I actively try and do is to not lose that sense of childlike wonder by just admiring simple things. Being glued to the window of an airplane when it rains in the fall and the colors of the trees get just a little bit brighter. Seeing that first mountain after a long road trip over flat land. You can keep a version of that sense of wonder as an adult by appreciating beauty. Sure, it's not the same, but it makes me feel like it is. That first time I got super high, I'd kill to be able to get back to the point where I could go trips in my mind off of only 2 hits. That last day of school, the weather always managed to be perfect. We didn't have to bring our backpacks to school. Everyone was just buzzing with laid-back yet excited feels. No one was being a dick to each other and the teachers loosened up. There was food in class. People even dressed up just a little bit because asterisk why not? Asterisk this feeling didn't carry over to college because the last day was stressed with finals and moving out of dorms. It always felt so rushed. Maybe someday I'll be able to have a family and be able to experience it secondhand through my own kids. Greater than maybe someday I'll be able to have a family and be able to experience it secondhand through my own kids. Oh megalil. That seems awfully selfish to me. Magicalness. Everything just happened. That's what drugs are for. Also Alzheimer. Magic and optimism. The thrill of skipping school. Now when I skip a class, it's a class I'm paying for, and it just feels wrong. The first time you ever see your crush's clothes slide off. Nothing like it can't be repeated. I think all of my firsts of that kind are unrepeatable experiences. Even if something better came after them. Which it did. First kiss. First time sleeping with someone. First time feeling like you're in love. You know that thing, where your feelings are so strong that your chest is all tight and fluttery? Absolutely wild. I had all of my firsts with one guy. Relationship ended after 3 years this January and I'm torn between feeling blessed to have had all of them with such a great guy and yet sad that it's all over now. The joy of losing a tooth. Time passing much slower than it does now. My first 10 years of life felt 2x longer than my past 10 years. Back aching. No breathing type laughter. I'm still in high school and I don't find a lot of stuff funny anymore and I doubt that I'll find stuff funnier when I'm older. I'm nearly 40 and I laughed like that last week. It's not something that necessarily goes away with age. I'm 16 and I don't think I've done that since 6th grade. Maybe I just need new friends. I have 4 friends and we laugh like that quite often. Yeah, you need some new friends. That summer of 2017 when I was 14, I was in a pool party and saw my crush. The only time I had the guts to talk to her. Didn't told her my feelings. But we talked about favorite things and stuff. We were in the deck gazing at the view with a summer breeze at 7 p.m. with my favorite song, No Promises by Cheapo's Feet. Demi Lovato on the radio, with a can of Pepsi in my hand. No kiss, but I sat there with all of those things satisfied. It was probably the closest I got with my crush. Now with my social anxiety I never had another moment like that. Just a happy memory that will always stay in my heart. Each time I encounter any of these things, I remember the only time I felt secure about myself. I remember this moment. With time, you learn confidence, man. You're a unique, amazing individual with value that no one can take away from you. Even if you can't see it, nothing anyone can say will take that away. Pre-pubertal me having as many dry orgasms as I want whenever without the messy aftermath of ejaculations. I miss those times. Dude, I would jack it anywhere and anytime. My friend's living room, my living room, friend's room, school when I got nervous at tests and in the car. I had a special pinching technique that I didn't need to undress for. I was a fucking weirdo but goddamn those GASMS hit different. The feeling of happiness because you had trustworthy friends that you can tell anything to. Loving parents that support you no matter what. And a feeling like no matter what happens, everything will be alright in the end. The possibility that you can be anything and do anything and everything is open-ended. Life gets restricted with age. Believing in those dreams which were physically, or realistically anyway, impossible. I used to think I'd invent a machine to turn the sky green and have flying cars like the DeLorean. Like genuinely believe that, whilst technically not impossible, these are probably not realistic in my lifetime. I'd love to have that hopeless optimism again and believe in something that made no sense to believe, for that feeling of wonder. I guess that's why people turn to religion when you first start to enjoy the taste of beer. Sure, there are amazing craft beers today, and the kinds of beer I drank as a teenager, late 80s, early 90s, were total shit. But the Michelobs my friend brought over in a cooler in the late spring of '89 might have been the best thing I have ever tasted in my life, and I'll never to get it back. Now read that again in Morgan Freeman's voice. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.